Friends and family are remembering a local couple who made huge impacts in the Spokane civil rights movement after a deadly plane crash in Washington.
Two of the people killed in the crash were Sandy Williams and her partner Patricia Hicks. Both were from Spokane.
So Hicks was a teacher and Williams was a civil rights leader as well as the executive director of the Carl Maxey Center. KREM 2 was able to speak with Williams' brother following this tragedy. So this morning, KREM 2's Nicole Hernandez is joining us live with more on what he had to say about his sister and her life. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Tim Channing. So Sandy's brother Rick was able to tell us that he's always seen Sandy as passionate and always wanting to give back to her community. He says she's been that way since they were young, since they were kids together. And Sandy here in Spokane is most known for being the executive director of the Carl Maxey Center. She's the one who led the building's remodel. For over 40 years, Sandy dedicated her life to people of color in Spokane, being a leader and a mentor.
When she got an idea, she worked it through. She made it happen. She took the time and the energy and had the fire and the passion to see it to fruition. So she's always been like that.
Since the news of Sandy's death, there has been an outpouring of love and support from the community. Rick says this shows her legacy will go on for generations to come.
We're just overwhelmed. I think my mom and I are, we sit after night after it gets quiet and just kind of look at each other. And we're just very proud. We're very proud. And this is, she has made a good legacy. I think mom and my dad, Thomas Williams and Wilhelmine Williams have, they're quite proud of their children. I think that Sandy's legacy will be one that will be remembered.
So Rick says no matter what crews can or cannot find about the crash, their plan as families are to celebrate Sandy and Patricia's lives. He says anyone willing to help, but he asks not to send flowers, instead though to donate to the Carl Maxey Center to help keep Sandy's mission alive. On top of running the Carl Maxey Center though, Sandy also started a newspaper here in Spokane. Back in 2019, our KREM Fallen was able to catch up with her about how she started the Black Lens.
Gives us such a different perspective than any of the other newspapers.
Through the lens of a Black woman living in Spokane, Sandy Williams runs a newspaper out of the basement in her home. She is her own news staff, even teaching herself to lay out and design a newspaper.
Taught as in I've made it so that I can figure out how to put it together.
Williams refers to this part of the newspaper process as her time underground, getting ready for the next issue of the Black Lens.
I place the columns and the ads first. The last thing that I do is the stuff that I have to write myself.
At first, the paper was more of a part-time hobby. That quickly changed.
I took a leap in the middle of 2015 and I quit my job.
A leap that a very small minority would come to appreciate.
I started out, my idea was that I was going to do just happy stories about people in Spokane because a lot of the news that focuses on the African American community is negative. That lasted about 5 minutes because I ended up needing to cover stories that weren't getting covered in other places.
First story printed on the front page of the very first issue of the Black Lens. Williams could not ignore the release of a Department of Justice review of excessive force used by the Spokane Police Department. This report surfacing 8 years after the death of a white man beaten at the hands of a Spokane police officer. But what stood out to her in that report was a section on race, stating that there were no racial disparities in SPD's use of excessive force.
So I read the report. That wasn't exactly accurate because the population, African American population is 2%, racial disparities were 10%, so it's disparate. And I thought, well, if I don't say that, then it won't get out there. So that became the first story, and so in that moment, it was like one of those moments where in that moment the paper took a turn from sort of being this sort of casual kind of let me tell happy stories to I think there's a role for me to tell stories that aren't getting told. Good. Are you here for the Black Lens?
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yay! Thank you for coming. I did not imagine that I would be doing this after 1 year.
Years later, and Williams has gained a community of readers happy to celebrate the 4-year anniversary of the newspaper she nurtured into a conversation, bringing many together.
When there's a small population, it's hard to connect with each other. It's hard to find each other. It's hard to know what's going on. Communities feel comfortable and feel empowered when they have an ability to communicate and connect with each other.
A power producing great force as a crowd of supporters fill a restaurant to standing room only.
You do a great job.
Thank you very much.
Just someone else's story. I can't live that story, so I get to hear what other people think.
I just think it's important for us to have a voice, and I think that Black Lens is a newspaper that lets us have a voice.
The anniversary party is over, but there is still work to be done for the February issue of the Black Lens.
Yeah, these are slipperier.
That is, if you call stuffing papers in good company work.
I think we have a good time.
I never knew that she was going to grow up and be like this, you know?
Curtis made the mistake of telling me that he was retired and he didn't have anything to do, so.
So he and Pam do this with Williams and her mom every single month.
Do you get paid?
With kindness.
Give her lots of hugs. When I first started stuffing the paper, it was me and my mom, but there were probably, about 20 of them, I think.
Now she has help.
I take full advantage of the fact that Curtis and Pam are free and make themselves available to come over here and help out.
Now comes the hard part. Each month, Williams sets out to deliver her papers, her voice, to the community.
When I printed the first issue, I sat in the car. I had all the papers on my back seat, and I sat in the car, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? So I called my daughter, and I was sitting in the car on the phone with my daughter. I said, I have all these newspapers on my back seat. What do I do now? And she said, hand them out. It felt like a huge responsibility, and I felt a bit presumptuous to assume that I could be a voice for a community.
Hey, that's Sandy from Black Lens. How you doing, sweetie?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm great. Oh, good to see you. I've been here for 40-some years, and I've never seen a black-owned newspaper like this one here. It gives a lot of information to the black citizens of the country and the black residents of Spokane.
When I bring the papers, like people get really excited. That's really fun for me. I love when someone approaches me and says, hey, I read something or I saw something, I never knew that. Sandy, I never knew that. The other side, there's been a little bit of pushback. There have been voices that have said it's exclusionary, divisive, because I focus on the black community, that somehow that's read by some people as trying to be separatist. Don't really understand that, but that's a voice that's out there. It doesn't come up very often, but it does come up.
It's not an easy task, producing this paper each month.
How do I do it? I don't know. Every month I'm ready to quit.
But then she remembers all of the people who have become involved as readers and contributors.
To be an African-American based newspaper in a community that has 2% African-American people, I'm sort of a dreamer that way. Communities feel comfortable and feel empowered when they have an ability to communicate and connect with each other. That's part of the role that I'm playing, is giving folks an opportunity to, in a safe way, to learn, to experience, and just see an alternate perspective that they probably wouldn't know about or see if the paper didn't exist.
For the latest information about Sandy Williams' death and her partner Patricia Hicks, you can text the word CRASH to the number 509-448-2000, and we will send that link right to your phone.